Hello everyone, today is 25th of February, now it's 9:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with the meeting that took place in Washington between US President Donald Trump and President of France Emmanuel Macron. Some interesting statements did come out of that meeting. First of all, Trump did not treat Macron in the entrance of the White House as US presidents usually do when high-ranking officials are visiting from other countries. But that's irrelevant nuance, okay, or somewhat irrelevant. But during the talks, well, from what we learn through media, it has become clear that Macron did try actually to derail talks between US and Russia, and maybe even achieve some success, by the way. And it was reported earlier, isn't it, that Macron and Stammer during their visits will try to derail these talks between two countries. Stammer is supposed to be in Washington on 27th of February. So there is an assault, one may say, on US leadership right now from European so-called elites. And I'm saying that Macron might achieve some success because he was focused, obviously, on deployment of NATO troops into Ukraine. European elites are framing all this story as deployment of peacekeepers, which is nonsense, by the way. Since when NATO become a peacekeeping organization? I mean, come on, man, this is not even laughable at this point. But anyways, that's the framing that they choose, that it's a peacekeepers, peacekeeper mission. No hostile steps towards Russia. No, it's about peace. Yeah, okay. Well, Macron went to say that some 30 countries ready to provide security guarantees to Ukraine. A number of countries are willing to provide military forces. Number of NATO member states from Europe are ready to provide military forces to be deployed into Ukraine. France and UK, obviously, leading the charge in this regard. And as I reported earlier, talks are that some 30,000 troops from NATO countries might be deployed into Ukraine, and obviously additional forces on the borderline regions with Ukraine, and this will be justified as a forces for rotations and stuff. So, well, European elites clearly want to move their military infrastructure into Ukraine and as close as possible to Russia, and I'm saying that Macron might achieve some success in his attempt to derail US-Russia talks because US President Donald Trump went to say that he has no issue with the deployment of European troops into Ukraine. Trump also said that he had a conversation about this topic with the Russian president, and Putin also had no issue with that. And this is really significant. I mean, either Trump is lying, or misunderstood, or confused, or maybe Russian leadership has changed their opinion on this matter, which is going to be a grave mistake if this is the case, because clearly European elites are preparing ground for a direct war with Russia, between NATO and Russia, between Europe and Russia, which is definitely not going to be first such a war, and not even second. Napoleon did unite Europe, significant part of it, and then invade Russia. Nazi Germany did the same, and many people, by the way, in this world may not know that during the Second World War, when Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, in invading force, there was not just divisions of Nazi Germany itself, but there were divisions, dozens of divisions, by the way, from other European countries. dozens of them, and many of them stay allied to Nazi Germany to the end, right? And now seems like these neolibs and the globalists that are in charge of continental Europe want to try it again, want to wage war against Russia, direct war against Russia again, and they are uniting Europe as much as they can to move forward with this plan. And that's exactly what this plan is about, because I mean, can you imagine some 30,000 troops or whatever number it is of NATO into Ukraine on line of contact or close to it? It will not take too much for European elites to provoke clashes between their sides, some incidents here and there, and eventually intensify this incident so much so that next phase of full-scale military operations began. And then what is going to happen then? European elites already are saying that these NATO troops in Ukraine will react if war will start again. And of course, they will provoke war, and they will say that it's Russia. Russia unprovokedly attacked again, right? So that's why I'm saying, if Moscow, for whatever reason, did agree on deployment of NATO troops into Ukraine, that's going to be a grave mistake, by the way. But let's wait and see, because I have difficulties to believe in Trump's statements. I rather prefer to believe statements that are coming from Russian leadership, and President Putin, some other high-ranking officials were very clear on this matter, that for Russia is absolutely not acceptable deployment of NATO troops into Ukraine, especially outside of Western Ukraine. Russian leadership was very clear that for Moscow, absolutely unacceptable temporary ceasefires. Russia is all about complete resolution of their conflict. And it was also stated that for Moscow, unacceptable delay of Ukraine's accession to NATO, Ukraine in NATO now or in 20 years or 50 years is absolutely unacceptable for Russia. Ukraine should, if it will maintain statehood, should stay neutral. That was a principal stance of Russian leadership, and I don't think this stance has changed, and therefore I don't know why Trump said what he said, that he spoke to Putin, and Putin has no issue with deployment of NATO troops. Something is wrong there, right? But clearly, I don't know if you will agree with me, dear friends, but with all these talks of deployment of troops from Europe into Ukraine, with all these warnings that after troops are deployed, if conflict will resume, then these troops will get engaged, and this is an attempt to deter Russia and all that stuff. I mean, this is all preparation of the ground for to provoke direct full-scale war between Europe and Russia, in my personal opinion. Attempt of globalists to attack us, basically, to try it again. Well, we should get ready here, by the way. We should get ready here, because these so-called elites in Europe are not going nowhere, right? And they will go ahead with these plans. And if now some temporary ceasefire is reached, and if Moscow will, for whatever reason, agrees on temporary ceasefire, then, I don't know, give it 3 to 5 years, and the Western ruling class will provoke full-scale war against Russia. They will try to invade Russia once again. They will create a pretext for that. They know how to do it. And eventually they will attack us. And I'm quite sure we can deal with the entire European armies. Russia did it not just once and not just even twice. We can deal with this, but it's just absolutely unnecessary. It's just absolutely unnecessary situation to go in this direction. But, And obviously, Russia can deal with enemies or with the conventional warfare. But if globalists will provoke direct war between Europe and Russia, if they will invade Russia, basically, obviously that conflict will go nuclear pretty fast. And you can imagine what will be the consequences of that, right? So yet again, I really hope, and I have no reason to doubt at this point, that Russian leadership will maintain its principal positions, that no NATO troops are acceptable in Ukraine, especially outside of Western Ukraine, and no temporary ceasefires are acceptable, because it's a trap. It's clearly a trap prepared by Western ruling class. Meanwhile, Trump himself did spoke about during this meeting with Macron, and after the meeting, during their conversation with the journalists, did spoke about Ukraine, did spoke about Russia. He said that he was treated quite nicely by Russian side and the U.S. delegation. Why he was surprised by this, Russian leadership always had a, historically speaking, by the way, quite high level of diplomatic or political class. So no surprises there. Trump said that there are some works to be some business together with Russia. He spoke about de-escalation, obviously, and he stated that he believes Moscow's desire to achieve Ukraine conflict settlement is an honest one, which is also true. Of course, everybody here in Russia, by the way, wants this conflict to end, but to end, not to be frozen, so that then Western elites will use it as their attempt to bring their forces in as much as possible, and then provoke another war, full scale, this time on a much greater scale. We want this conflict to end for once and for all, right? So yes, Trump is correct on that, but yet again, it seems like European elites at this point are succeeding in their attempts to derail potential rapprochement between US and Russia, because if White House continues to push this crazy narrative about deployment of NATO troops into Ukraine, this will not go down well here in Russia. It's just it is what it is, right? So if US is serious about the escalation, they should listen less to European elites, and they should be more focused on direct communication with Russia. Meanwhile, yesterday interview was published of Russian president with a journalist of Channel 1 or Russia 1, Pavel Zarubin, and during in this interview, Putin did talked about quite a number of important topics in regards to Donald Trump and US. He said that Trump has free hands in regards to Ukraine, which is not the case in Europe, in terms of European leaders. Putin did compliment Trump in many ways. Okay, some diplomacy there, and he said that Trump not just says what he thinks, but he is also acting on his promises, and he is actually doing what he wants, which is a privilege of the leader of the major superpower. He also said that Russia and US have to take some steps to rebuild trust between the sides. to deal with Ukrainian issue, which is correct. Although he also went to say that even though some preliminary talks have begun between Russian and US sides, there were no detailed talks for now with Trump about resolutions of the Ukrainian conflict. He said that there was no detailed talks, and this means, in my understanding, in my interpretation, this means that Trump was probably confused or misunderstood when he said that Putin has no issue with deployment of NATO troops into Ukraine, because they did not even talk about details, right? So from where this statement of Trump is coming, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he just says something and thinks this is true. I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyways, Putin also spoke about Ukrainian crisis, of course, and he stated that attempts of Trump to de-escalate situation in and around Ukraine did play a positive role, and Russia acknowledges this positivity. He also went to say that Russia has no issue with if Ukraine will maintain its statehood, but territory of the Ukraine cannot be used as a hostile bridgehead of their enemy forces. Ukraine has to be neutral, basically, if it will maintain statehood. Principal stand of Russian leadership since forever. Also, he stated that Russia wants to achieve peace as fast as possible, but Zelensky is an obstacle in this direction, which is also true, by the way. Zelensky is not legit president. He has to be neutralized one way or another, but he is an obstacle. Russia is acknowledging this. US leadership currently, as far as I understand, also acknowledges that Zelensky is an obstacle, and there were already some articles, by the way, in the Western media that some influential members of the Trump inner circle also see Zelensky as an obstacle that needs to be neutralized. Also, Putin said that Zelensky cornered himself while prohibiting anybody, including president, when he was legit, to communicate with the Russian side, to negotiate with the Russian side. Putin said that Zelensky is avoiding peace talks because if two peace talks to begin, he have to martial law has to stop in Ukraine, and if that will happen, that means elections should take place, and in that case Zelensky is going to lose his power. And I don't know why, but Russian president went to say that Zelensky not just has no chances to achieve a victory in elections, but he went to say that Zaluzhny, by the way, Zaluzhny has significantly more chances to win the elections that Zelensky does, right? Why he mentioned Zaluzhny, I don't know. He is now Zaluzhny is of course former head of general staff of Ukraine, and now he is ambassador into UK, and Zaluzhny is a British candidate. Zaluzhny is a British asset, and I don't know why Russian president promoted sort of this British asset, although what he says is actually factual. Yes, Zaluzhny definitely has much more support in Ukraine than Zelensky. Zelensky has zero chances basically to win the elections. That's an interesting nuance there. Interesting nuance. Maybe maybe behind the closed doors, already some talks are taking place between major superpowers with whom Zelensky will be replaced. And if Russian president mentioned Zaluzhny, probably that is the candidate that is on #1 contendant at this point. Although I would not rule out some other names also, including former aide of Ukraine's president Arestovich, who clearly has some support from Trump's team, as far as I understand. Also, by the way, when it comes to Europe, Russian president stated that reaction of Europe on contacts between Russia and US are based on emotions and have no practical meaning. And Europe cannot demand from Russia anything. Europe is in no position to demand from Russia anything. Europe or any other or anyone else, but Europe in particular. Although he said that Europe might play some positive role in terms of the escalation. They're not gonna do, but that certainly can play some positive role. And he also said that some European leaders find it difficult to move away now from their promises to Kiev regime without losing the face. So therefore they are kind of trapped now in that they have become kind of hostages of their own actions and propagandistic moves, which is also true, one may argue. But yet again, in my personal opinion, European elites, Western ruling class, European elites, I think they are preparing ground for to provoke full-scale war between NATO and Russia, between Europe and Russia. They are preparing invasion, by the way. They are preparing invasion, and this should be taken seriously by Russian side, and therefore I hope in no circumstances Moscow will agree on deployment of European troops into Ukraine, and I hope in no circumstances Moscow will agree on temporary ceasefire. It's a trap. It's a trap, by the way. We cannot accept that. And when it comes to weapon systems, Putin stated that proposal from the Trump about cutting military spendings is a good idea. Putin also went to say that Russia and US, theoretically speaking, could actually cut strategical weapons significantly. Strategical weapons means nuclear arsenals, and eventually China might join in, which is, well, that was what US was actually promoting, that idea that strategical weapon systems should be cut and China should be part of it, because obviously US don't want China to continue build up of its nuclear arsenals, and I guess in attempt to kind of build up these new relationships with US, Russian president agree on to talk about this topic, to cut not just defense spendings, but also cut strategical arsenals. And he said that, well, he didn't demand it that China should be a part of it, but he said that China could join this agreement later on. I don't think so, and I'm not in support of this idea at all. I don't want Russia to cut any strategical arsenals, by the way. I want Russia to build more nuclear weapons, actually, because nuclear weapons is the only deterrence that there is right now, right in place. even though, I mean, this proxy war that West is waging against Russia clearly demonstrated that Western ruling class is so out of touch with reality that they are not afraid to mess around their nuclear superpower. But still, if Russia did not have nuclear weapons, I'm quite sure entire NATO countries would send their troops already to occupy Russia. They didn't do this only because Russia has some 1,500 nuclear weapons on standby and another 4,000 to 5,000 nukes ready to be, activated at any time, right? Russia has the biggest nuclear arsenal. The US is second, obviously, and I'm absolutely against cutting any arsenals, any nuclear arsenals. We need more nukes. We need more strategical weapon systems to deter enemies. That's my principal position, and in no circumstances China will ever agree, obviously, to cut nuclear arsenals. By the way, they only have like I don't know, some 700 maybe nukes, far less than Russia and US do. And according to reports, for 2030, 2035, Chinese nuclear arsenal levels will reach about 1,500, which is quite significant, right? I mean, current 700 is also significant, obviously, but 1,500, that's whole different level, right? That's a level of that will allow, that theoretically speaking will allow any country who has so many nukes to actually commit extinction level event, right? Because all you need is to detonate these nukes just anywhere. You don't even have to send this. You can detonate it anywhere. And that's going to be enough to cause nuclear winter and extinction event, right? So, no thanks. No, I'm absolutely against nuclear arsenals to be cut. No, man. No. US cannot be trusted. European states cannot be trusted. More nukes. We need more nukes, no less. And Putin also went to say that Russia is ready for cooperation with US, and there is many areas where cooperation may take place, including in the field of rare earth materials. Well, I mean, everybody's talking about rare earth nowadays. So yes, rare earth materials are one of the directions where Russia and US might cooperate. At least Russia is open for that. Other mineral resources, Russia is open to cooperate in fields of not just rare earth but also metallurgy, right? Russia can provide US with, let's say, 2 million tons of aluminum, for example, every single year, which will make US industries much more competitive, obviously. And there are many other spheres, by the way. Putin clearly demonstrated that Russia is ready for normalization of the relations with US and cooperation. But yet again, I think this is all just statements, and we are very far away from even reaching more or less good working relationships. But these initial statements at least give us some hope that at least between Russia and US relationships might become a little better, right? But when it comes to Europe, situation is completely different, and I'm afraid there are globalists and neolibs that are in charge of continental Europe will continue preparations to provoke a direct war between Europe and Russia, and that's why I'm saying Moscow should never ever agree on any temporary ceasefire and deployment of NATO troops from European states into conflict area, into this former Soviet republic. But anyways, there are some other news, obviously, also. But I think these topics that I went through are interesting, right? And hopefully you will find it interesting also, useful also. But quickly I will go through some headlines at least for a number of other news, and the rest of the news, by the way, will be published in on Patreon and Boosty. So Russian forces liberated the Topoli settlement in the Kharkov region, and this is here, by the way. That's Topoli settlement in the Kharkov region. Russian troops have significant progress in many areas, by the way, but I have no time now to go into some details there. Initiative obviously is in Russian hands all along the front line. Also, reports are that Russian troops liberated Belogorovka in LPR. Belogorovka is, of course, a Seversk direction. Also, we have report that Kiev regime forces and the NATO mercenaries lost in the Kursk salient area since the beginning of invasion more than 63,000 military personnel, 379 tanks, 288 infantry fighting vehicles, 240 armored personnel carriers, more than 2,000 other armored vehicles, and hundreds and hundreds of artillery systems, MLRS systems, and other equipment. Entire army of Kiev regime was basically decimated in the Kursk salient area, and it seems like, as I said in the previous updates, it does seems like Russia is intent to close now this Kursk trap, and if my reading of the big picture is correct, then probably in a couple of weeks' time, decisive actions will be taken, and territory, Kursk salient area, will be completely cleared out from invading force. And RIA Novosti is also reporting that, yesterday, by the way, State Rada in Ukraine, which is a parliament, voted against prolongation of Zelensky's presidency, sort of. The resolution of the Verkhovnaya Rada on the continuation of their power of Vladimir Zelensky until the newly elected president of Ukraine takes office failed during the voting. MP Yaroslav Zhelezniak said in a Telegram channel he published an excerpt from their document and its numbers, noting that their deputies did not support their initiative. According to Zhelezniak, only 218 MPs voted in favor, 226 was necessary. Meanwhile, by the way, legitimacy of parliament was prolonged. I don't know what happened there. There was representatives of EU and some other Western officials in Rada at the moment when this vote was taking place, and I don't know, maybe today things will change and they will vote again, and Zelensky formally will be given some rights to act as if he has some legitimacy, but this is quite interesting. This is quite interesting that yesterday Rada didn't actually prolong his powers, presidential powers, right? And I will end this update on first part, by the way, of this update on that. As I said, there are quite a number of other important news I have prepared for this update, and I will publish those other. I will share those other news on my Patreon and Boosty. Hopefully you will find this first part interesting, useful, and informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything. This is the only way we can at least try and influence algorithm. And if you can, please share videos or or information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet. And finally, if you like my work, my channels, and if you want to support, you can do it through several means. You can donate through PayPal platform or Boosty platform, or you can become a member of our Patreon and Boosty communities. All the links are on this video description box and in the pinned comment, including crypto address to crypto wallet. Okay, this is it for now. Have a wonderful day, and if you are a member of our Patreon or Boosty community, you can go right now there, and the second part of update, I'm quite sure, will be already published there. And if you are not the member of our Patreon and Boosty community, please consider to become a member and to support my work that way. Have a wonderful day and take care.